The Kingsley M50 hot foil stamping machine. Originally created by the Kingsley Machine Company in Hollywood, California, this is a true workhorse, and it can be had for a very reasonable price these days. I've had mine for a couple of years now and really enjoy it. With a little bit of ingenuity, there's a couple of workarounds where you can actually get some custom-made parts and you can actually utilize custom logos on this machine for hot foil stamping. So I'm going to show you some ways that I like to use mine and some of my personal opinions on its use for leather goods, and I'll give you kind of an overview on who I think this machine is best suited for. But it's really an excellent machine, and you should really take a look at it. So as I was previously saying, the whole point of getting the Kingsley machine for use with leathercraft is that you would be able to do either embossing or hot foil stamping of either a logo or initials. I primarily use mine for stamping my logo here. So this is a custom logo that I've designed, and I had this created in a die from lwleathers.com. I'll put a link in there in the description for that. But this is solid brass, and it was CNC machined, and this is specifically designed for this type of a holder that goes into a Kingsley machine. Most people don't have a setup like this because it's kind of tough to find this piece, but I will explain the best way to go about getting one of those in a second here. But for about, I think it was roughly $100, maybe a little bit less, I had this die created for me, or this stamp. And what's so nice about it is that it has these little ridges, and it's perfectly designed to fit into this die holder right here. So you just slide it right in just like that, holds it, and it has a little spring lock that holds it like this so it doesn't come out. And then it just slides right into the machine, heats up, and then it just stamps it right into the leather. Now, what makes this so cool is that you can have these dies made for whatever logo you want. You can get a bunch of them made, and they're going to last you forever because, they're solid brass. And assuming you don't try and send them a logo that's got really tiny lines, which I doubt that they would really be able to make for you anyways. But kind of my point is that these things are going to be able to be used, maybe thousands of times. I don't know if, eventually they break down. I can't really imagine they would. It's literally just metal. And it's not like you're stamping it into metal or anything. You're stamping it into a soft surface. So it should last you a really long time. So check them out. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. I don't even know them, but they're really nice and easy to work with, and a very fast turnaround too. So give them a shot. Now, like I said, what you're gonna have to do is find this. And unfortunately, these things aren't exactly easy to come across. What you are looking for is a 72.3-inch wafer die holder for a Kingsley machine. Kind of a mouthful. The best place to find one is probably going to be eBay. And they're definitely not super common. If you look through recent, sold sales, they come up every couple of months. So if you think that you are going to be wanting to try this whole arrangement, if you see one, I would jump on it. Expect to pay over $100 for it. I know that's kind of expensive, particularly for what it is. It's literally just a little piece of aluminum with, a couple rails on it. If you were an enterprising machinist, this would probably be very simple for you to recreate. I can't imagine this would be too difficult. I just don't have the tools or the gumption to try and accomplish this on my own. So I actually didn't get mine on eBay. Where I got mine was a print shop in California. SLE Printers. I think it's printers. I'll put the link in the description because I don't remember the exact website. But it's an old school print shop in California, and they sell like, foil and Kingsley accessories and a whole bunch of other stuff. And they are kind of like probably one of the last of the few shops in America that specializes in this type of stuff. Not necessarily for leathercraft use, but more so for like kind of what these machines were originally intended for. So I called them. The product is listed on the website. So again, I'll link it. But here's kind of the kicker is like, you got to call them. You can't just push, PayPal, send it to me. I had to call him and I had to talk to the guy. I think I had to like leave him a message and he called me back. This is old school. And he told me that he could order it for me. Now, here's the rub is he was like, yeah, I'll order it for you. But in order for it to be worth my sort of order, which like, I don't know, I'm not trying to like criticize the guy. He was really friendly, but he asked me if I would purchase some foil as well to sort of make it worth the order for him. So I ended up purchasing, I don't remember how much I had to purchase from him, but it was like 50 or $100 or something worth of foil. So now I've got like way more foil than I'm ever gonna need here. But that's kind of the thing, is like, even with having to do that, which like, I don't mind supporting, a local company, like that's fine. Like, he's trying to stay in business and, sell these things, which I'm sure aren't selling too frequently. So I don't mind doing that. But like, even with doing that and getting the foil, which I'm going to use, it's not like it was a waste of money. Like, I'm still saving so much money compared to where I would be if I were to go out and buy one of these, multi-$1,000 modern machines. So you're going to have to do a little searching. I think the last one of these that sold on eBay was $139. So that's going to be cheaper than trying to go through this SLE print shop. And I don't know, like you may or may not have to sort of make a couple additional purchases. I don't know them. I'm not affiliated with them. I've only purchased through them. So your mileage may vary, but either way, this is what you're going to need. If you're looking at these Kingsley M50 machines, you're going to see a lot of them for sale with a bunch of these boxes of type, or you could think of it kind of like fonts, but they're not, it's not really the proper term for it. It's type, okay? And these are literally just like the little letters that you can stamp into the leather to, put like initials, or if you want to spell out a word or something like that. Here's my opinion, and like, I just want you to know this is an opinion, is that I don't think that these are particularly worth it. I think they're overpriced, and they're probably not going to give you the results that you are desiring. First of all, they're expensive. They're super expensive. These are like at least $75 to $100. And once you get the type, you're going to need the holder. And, the holder, of course, is going to be $40 or $50 or something. And then, you're going to need the spacers too. And the spacers, like, who knows what you're going to pay for these. This stuff's just vintage, and it doesn't really have like necessarily a standard price. But what you would do is you'd put in the appropriate amount of spacers. I'm not going to set this up because this takes a while to completely set up. And then you would, see how it's got like little indentations? You'd sort of line it up on there and then make sure that it's set the correct way. And you would sort of, if you've got enough spacers in here, it'll sort of sandwich it right in the middle. and then you would slide it right into your machine and you would be able to stamp it. Now, what I don't like about these, I'm gonna try and keep this quick, is that I'll try and get a close-up shot here, but you don't have very much depth on the letters. And what ends up happening more often than not is that the letters will go into the leather, and the outside, sort of the boundary around the letter itself, will also contact the leather. And you're gonna get sort of like, I guess the best way I could sort of describe it is like overspray. Like it's going to make kind of a cloudy effect. Like you're not gonna get like a crisp letter. You're gonna get kind of like gold foil around the letter too. Not to mention, these are just really small. I think that, for the most part, people aren't gonna want initials that are that big. It's kind of like these weren't originally made, for like leather. I guess they were in some capacity, like they were sort of advertised as being able to be used for leather, so it's not factually incorrect. But I think like the bigger use for these types of letter sets were for like books. People used to use these in Bible stores, and you'd go in and you'd like buy a Bible for somebody, and you'd say, all right, this is for my nephew and his name's Johnny. And then you'd like go through and write Johnny and put it like inside of the cover, and maybe a date, whatever. Like that was like the bigger usage, like paper goods, okay? You can get all kinds of little attachments for like matchbooks and ribbons and like, pencils and all sorts of stuff that probably doesn't have a whole lot of use anymore. I do think the ribbons could be kind of cool just because like you could use that for just packaging, but I haven't decided to invest in the holders and all that stuff. So I personally think that these typesets aren't really worth your money. I think you're better off buying custom-made brass letters and finding a typeset holder that will fit the machine itself. There's a couple companies that'll do it. You could look into like Hex and Hit. And also this LW Leathers, I think, will also make custom typesets for not too terribly much money, and you get to upload your own font and create your own set. You might have to experiment around a little bit finding a holder that will hold them. I'm not sure if they would fit into something like this. I don't own one, but that's gonna give you a much bigger letter. And I know you can buy like different sizes of these, okay? Like there are some that are a little bit bigger, but I still don't think that they're gonna give you the size that you want, and they're not gonna be as crisp and clean as you want, particularly if you're stamping on thicker leather that has a little bit more of a give to it, like a vegetable tan leather. All right, so while this is heating up, I'm gonna show you really quickly. This is a roll, a brand new matte gold, okay? And I'll show you what this looks like compared to a regular shiny gold. I think it's cool. I think that it's nice to have the two options, and I've also got it in, regular shiny silver and matte silver. And as I was mentioning, from this SLE printers, I wound up with, hold on, I'm kind of astonished at how much foil I've managed to get over the years. I got all these wacky colors that I will probably never use. But alas, I have them. I also think that the black, this is like a matte black. I think that's kind of cool. All right, now let me show you what this actually looks like. All right, so we've got some Pueblo leather here. I'm gonna show you real quickly. The way that I like to do this is, obviously like, you want it centered, and there's a nice little grid here. But let's say that you've got it all centered the way that you want. I like to put a little piece of painter's tape down or some type of, adhesive that's not going to leave a mark. And then you do an initial push, and that's going to leave a blind embossing print on there. And then the way that you would add, you could stop there theoretically, and it leaves a very nice impression that's going to last, and you're not gonna, it's gonna look like this, and you don't need to worry about any foil ever rubbing off of there. But we'll try this. Sometimes I kind of have to sort of unbend it the other way or unroll it. And then what you would do is you would slide it in. And you're going to burn yourself. Like, just, realize that that's going to happen. So give it a whack. You're not holding it. You're just giving it a quick whack. And then pull it off. And beautiful. That worked out great. So I would definitely, make a note. I would literally get a notepad and write down what temperature the machine is at and what type of leather you have and what type of foil you used. I find this matte gold foil is beautiful and it works really well. I get really good impressions with it. Very crisp. But the reason I mentioned the temperature is because obviously, or maybe not obviously, different types of leather, like if you've got a goat leather, this is like a chevre, that's going to be a lot different, like these chrome tans. Or if you were trying to stamp an alligator, geez, you better practice with some type of scraps first and make sure that you get it dialed in just right. That way it works with your foil and your leather. Okay, so who is this machine for? Well, I think it's a phenomenal entry-level machine. It has so much potential and it's so functional and reliable that truly it's a workhorse. I personally know of a handful of professional leather workers that use these in their shop on a day-to-day basis, and they make their living using this machine. It's dead simple. There's no computers involved. It's a very simple heating element with a little thermostat, and it's repairable and replaceable, and the parts are readily available. So it's not like, if your digital computer gauge goes out, then you need to mail it back to England to have it replaced or wait for them to send you a part or whatever else. No, there are parts here, for me in America or wherever you're at, there's going to be parts that are available and you can do the repairs yourself. You can get, as long as you're able to find that, holder, or you get creative and find some other workarounds, you're going to be able to get custom logos made and use it for that as well. And to me, that's what makes it worth it. So I think, for the price right now, you can get into gold foil stamping for, let's say $400 all in for the holder and maybe for your custom logo stamp and the machine. I'd be willing to bet that if you were patient and scoped out eBay long enough, you could be $400 all in. I'm not saying you can necessarily get all of the typeset for that if you were particularly to go custom, but it's just an excellent day-to-day workhorse. Here's who I think might want to consider upgrading is somebody who works with very expensive skins regularly. If you are using a lot of alligator or reptile or ostrich or whatever else, and you need the temperature to be dialed in and you don't have a whole lot of room for error, I would get one with a digital temperature gauge and one of the newer, more expensive machines that cost, over $1,000 each, maybe even $2,000. I also think that if you are a bag maker, you might benefit from a bigger machine. You don't necessarily have to get one that's massive, but the base plate on this is pretty small. You can get extenders, and I actually do have a bigger base plate for it, but you might benefit from having just a larger working space. There's only 6 inches or so of depth here. So if you're trying to stamp the middle of a bag panel, you're probably not going to be able to. You're probably going to have to stamp a pocket and then sew it onto the bag panel. But like, you know, if you're consistently working with alligator and you're making bags and all that, you're probably not necessarily looking for, you know, an entry-level budget machine. You probably have the money to purchase a really expensive machine. But I digress. I think that this is just an excellent workhorse, particularly if you're trying to stay profitable and you're not looking to invest like $2,000 into a foil stamp machine that's not going to make you $2,000 in, you know, how long is it going to take for you to stamp gold foil initials on something to make $2,000 back? It might take you a long time, you know. So let's, you know, keep that in mind, that like, while it's cool to be able to put gold foil on things, you know, you don't want to be so in debt to your tools that you're never going to get back to being profitable. Okay, so I'll quit rambling, but I think, like, you know, that's who would benefit from this machine is 90% of people that are getting into leatherwork and want to be able to utilize this. So thanks for watching. If you've got any opinions on this machine, if you own one, go ahead and leave a comment. Tell me what you think of it. If you got any tips or tricks, I'd love to hear about it. There's a lot of old accessories out there, so I haven't tried all of them, but let me know what you think.